Hello, dear friend. Welcome to this quiet, sacred space. It's so wonderful that you're here, that you've chosen this time, this moment, to simply be still, to rest, to let go of the day that's past, and to prepare your heart and mind for deep, restorative sleep. Tonight, we're going to walk together through an ancient story, a story from long, long ago. From a time of dusty roads and starlit skies, from a world where people lived close to the earth and closer still to heaven. It's the story of a man named Samson. But this isn't a story of battles or conflict. No, tonight, we're going to explore the quieter truths, the gentle moments, the times of reflection and growth. We're going to feel the warmth of the sun on ancient hillsides, smell the olive groves in the evening breeze, and hear the soft whisper of God's presence in a life that was chosen for something special. So take a moment now and settle yourself more deeply into comfort. Adjust your pillow just so. Pull your blanket up around your shoulders. Let your body sink into the mattress beneath you, feeling supported, feeling safe, feeling held. There's nowhere else you need to be. Nothing else you need to do. Just be here. Just breathe. Just rest. Let your eyes close gently if they haven't already. Or if they're still open, let them grow soft and heavy, knowing that sleep will come in its own time, in its own gentle way. We're going to move slowly tonight. Very slowly. There's no rush at all. We'll linger in the peaceful moments. We'll pause to feel the atmosphere. We'll let the story unfold like a flower opening at dawn, petal by petal, breath by breath. The world we're entering is one of hills and valleys, of small villages where everyone knows everyone else, where oil lamps flicker in windows as the sun sets, where the sound of grinding grain and bleating sheep fills the air, where life moves at the pace of the seasons. It's a world where people understand that they're part of something larger, where the sky above feels close enough to touch, where prayers are whispered into the darkness and somehow, mysteriously, they're heard. This is the world where Samson lived, where he grew, where he struggled and learned and ultimately discovered who he truly was. And as we walk through his story together, perhaps you'll find echoes of your own journey, your own questions, your own search for purpose and peace. But all of that can wait. For now, just breathe, slowly, deeply, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Again, in and out. Feel your shoulders relaxing, your jaw unclenching, your whole body beginning to release the tension of the day. You are safe here, you are welcome here, and you are exactly where you need to be. So let us begin, softly, gently, like the first light of dawn touching the hilltops. Let us begin. Our story begins in the hill country of Dan, in a time that feels both ancient and somehow timeless. There was a village there, a small place really, just a cluster of stone houses built close together for protection and community, gardens growing between the homes, a well in the center where people gathered, narrow pathways winding between the buildings, and in one of these houses lived a woman and her husband, Manoah. Their home was simple but warm. Earthen floors swept clean each morning, a cooking fire that filled the rooms with the scent of bread and herbs, woven mats for sleeping, clay pots lined up along the walls, a small window that let in the afternoon light. It was a good life in many ways. They had enough to eat. They had neighbors who cared for them. They had faith that sustained them through difficult times. But there was a sadness too, a quiet, patient sadness that lived in the corners of their home. You see, they had no children. Year after year had passed and the woman's arms remained empty. She would watch other mothers in the village, see them nursing their babies, hear them calling their children home at dusk, and she would feel that hollow ache in her chest. She didn't complain. She was not a woman who demanded or questioned. She simply carried this longing the way one carries water from the well, carefully, steadily, one day at a time. She prayed often, sometimes in words, sometimes in silent tears, sometimes just in the reaching of her heart toward heaven. And heaven was listening. One afternoon, when the sun was high and the air was very still, she walked out beyond the village. She often did this when she needed to think, when she needed to be alone with her thoughts and her prayers. She walked past the last houses, past the olive groves, out to where the land opened up into wild places. The grass was golden and dry. Wildflowers dotted the hillside. The sky stretched endlessly above her, so blue it almost hurt to look at. She found a spot beneath an ancient tree and sat down, her back against the rough bark. The shade was cool. The world was quiet except for the singing of cicadas and the distant sound of sheep. She closed her eyes and breathed deeply. And then, she felt a presence, not threatening, not alarming, but unmistakable. Like the air itself had changed, like the space around her had become more alive, more aware, more full of possibility. She opened her eyes and saw a figure standing before her, radiant with a light that didn't come from the sun, peaceful in a way that immediately calmed any fear she might have felt. An angel, a messenger from God. The being's voice was gentle, like wind through wheat fields, like water over smooth stones. "You're going to have a child," the angel said. The woman caught her breath. Her hand moved instinctively to her heart. "A son," the angel continued, "and he will be special, set apart from the very beginning. You must not cut his hair, never from the day he is born. For he will be dedicated to God. He will be a Nazirite, consecrated, holy, chosen for a purpose." The woman listened, barely daring to breathe, afraid that if she moved or spoke, this moment would shatter like a dream. "This child will be strong," the messenger said, "stronger than any man you've known, but his strength will not be for himself. It will be a gift given for a reason. He will begin to deliver your people. He will be a light in dark times." The angel's presence filled the air with such peace, such certainty, such love. "Raise him gently," the voice said. "Teach him to listen. Help him understand that what he has been given is not his own. It is a sacred trust. And though his path will not always be easy, he is held, always held, in hands far greater than any human hands." And then, as softly as morning mist rises from a valley, the angel was gone. The woman sat very still for a long time. Her heart was beating so hard she could hear it. Her hands were trembling, but inside her, deep inside, there was a warmth spreading, a joy, a knowing that everything had just changed. She stood slowly and looked around. The hillside looked the same as before, the grass, the wildflowers, the endless sky. But somehow everything felt different, new, full of promise. She walked home slowly, one hand resting on her belly, already imagining the child who would grow there. What would he look like? Would he have his father's smile, her eyes? Would he be gentle? Would he be kind? When she reached home, Manoah was working in the courtyard, repairing a wooden plow. She stood in the doorway, watching him for a moment, trying to find the words. He looked up and saw her face, radiant, tear-streaked, transformed, and he immediately set down his tools. "What is it?" he asked gently, crossing to her. "What's happened?" And she told him everything. The angel, the message, the promise of a son, the instructions about his hair, his dedication, his purpose. Manoah listened with growing wonder. When she finished, he took both her hands in his and they stood together in silence, letting the magnitude of it all sink in. That night, they prayed together, kneeling on the floor of their simple home, hands clasped, voices soft in the lamplight, giving thanks, asking for guidance, promising to do their best to raise this child in the ways of faith and love. The months that followed were full of preparation and anticipation. The woman's body changed, growing round and full. She felt the baby move inside her, little flutters at first, then stronger kicks and rolls. Each movement was a reminder of the miracle the promise, the gift. She wove blankets from soft wool. Manoah carved a cradle from olive wood, sanding it smooth so no rough edge would touch tender skin. Their neighbors, seeing the joy in their faces, brought gifts, swaddling cloths, a tiny robe, a lamp to burn through the night. And when the time finally came, when the contractions began and the midwife was called, when the long hours of labor stretched through the night and into the dawn, a son was born. His cry was strong and clear. His tiny fists waved in the air. His eyes, when they opened, were dark and bright and full of life. The woman held him against her chest, feeling his warmth, his aliveness, his perfect smallness. Tears streamed down her face, joy, relief, overwhelming love. "Samson," she whispered, "your name is Samson." The name meant sun, or like the sun. And truly, there was something luminous about this child, something that seemed to bring light into the room. Manoah stood beside them, one hand resting gently on his wife's shoulder, looking down at his son with wonder. This was the child who had been promised. This was the beginning of something they couldn't yet fully understand. Outside, the sun was rising. Golden light spilled across the hillsides. Birds began their morning songs. The world was waking up to a new day. And in that small stone house, with the lamp still flickering and the midwife cleaning up and the mother and father gazing at their newborn son, there was a sense of holiness, of rightness, of beginning. The baby's hair was already thick and dark. It would never be cut. It would grow long, a visible sign of his dedication, his difference, his calling. But for now, he was just a baby, small and vulnerable and completely dependent. He needed to be fed and changed and held and loved. And his mother did all these things with a full heart, knowing that this precious little life was both hers and not hers, given to her to nurture, but ultimately belonging to something greater. She hummed softly as she rocked him, an old lullaby her own mother had sung to her, a melody that had been passed down through generations, carrying with it all the love and hope and prayers of mothers throughout time. Sleep, little one. You are safe. You are loved. You are held in arms both human and divine. Sleep and grow strong. Sleep and know peace. Sleep, little Samson. Sleep. The years unfolded gently, like a scroll being opened slowly, revealing its story bit by bit. Samson grew as all children do, first learning to smile, then to sit up, then to crawl across the earthen floor. His first steps were celebrated with joy. His first words brought laughter and pride. But even from the beginning, there was something different about him, something that set him apart. He was healthy in a way that seemed almost extraordinary. While other children in the village caught fevers and illnesses, Samson remained strong. When other toddlers stumbled and fell, Samson bounced back up immediately. There was a vitality in him, a life force that was palpable to everyone who saw him. His hair grew long and thick, falling past his shoulders in dark waves. His mother would brush it gently each evening, running her fingers through it, remembering the angel's words, guarding this visible sign of his consecration. As he grew older, maybe 4 or 5 years old, the difference became even more apparent. He could lift things that other children his age couldn't budge, not in a showy way, not trying to prove anything, but just naturally, easily, as if the weight meant nothing to him. Once, a cart carrying firewood became stuck in the mud outside their house. Several men gathered around, pushing and pulling, trying to free it. Young Samson toddled over and placed his small hands on the back of the cart. He pushed, and the cart lurched forward out of the mud, so suddenly that the men stumbled in surprise. They looked at each other, then at the little boy, then at his parents. Manoah and his wife smiled gently but said nothing. What could they say? They didn't fully understand it themselves. They just knew their son was special, chosen, different. They taught him to be humble about his strength, to not flaunt it or use it carelessly. "It's a gift, Samson," his mother would tell him, kneeling down to his level, looking into his bright eyes. a gift from God, and gifts are to be treasured and used wisely, and never, ever taken for granted. He would nod solemnly, his small face serious, trying to understand. His father taught him other things: patience, gentleness, respect for all living things. They would walk together in the hills, and Manoah would point out the different plants and animals, explaining how everything had its place, its purpose. "See that bird?" he'd say, pointing to a sparrow perched on a branch. "So small, barely weighs anything. But does God care for it any less than he cares for the strongest ox?" Each creature is precious. Each has a role to play. Samson would watch the bird, fascinated, understanding in his young way that strength was not the measure of worth. The village children loved playing with Samson. He was never mean or bullying. He was gentle and kind, always willing to share, always ready to help if someone got hurt or scared. They would run through the olive groves together, playing games of hide and seek. They would climb the hills and roll down the grassy slopes, laughing until their sides hurt. They would help with small chores, gathering kindling or feeding the chickens or drawing water from the well. Samson's laughter was infectious. When he smiled, his whole face lit up. He had a joy about him, a lightness that made others feel happy just being around him. But there were also times when he needed to be alone, when he would wander off by himself to sit on a hillside and watch the clouds or the sunset. Even as a young boy, he seemed to sense that he was different, that there was something inside him that he didn't quite understand yet. His mother would watch him sometimes from a distance, see him sitting on a rock, his long hair moving in the breeze, his small form silhouetted against the sky. And she would remember the angel's words. She would whisper a prayer of protection over him. As Samson moved into his teenage years, his strength became even more remarkable. He could carry loads that grown men struggled with. He could work all day in the fields without tiring. His presence seemed to affect even the natural world around him. Once, he was helping his father harvest olives. They were beating the branches with long sticks, causing the ripe fruit to fall onto cloth spread below. Samson struck a particularly stubborn branch, and the entire tree shook as if in a windstorm. Olives rained down like hail. His father stared in amazement. "Perhaps a bit more gently," Manoah said with a slight smile. Samson grinned sheepishly. "Sorry, sometimes I don't know my own strength." It was true. He was still learning, still understanding what it meant to have this gift, still discovering the boundaries and responsibilities that came with it. There were moments when he felt overwhelmed by it all, times when the strength felt like a burden more than a blessing. He didn't always want to be different. He wanted to be normal, to fit in, to not stand out. One evening, when he was perhaps 15, he climbed to his favorite spot, a high hill overlooking the valley. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple. The air was cooling. The first stars were beginning to appear. He sat on the ground, wrapped his arms around his knees, and looked out over the familiar landscape. His home down below. The other houses with their cooking fires sending up thin streams of smoke. The fields and groves, the winding paths. "Why me?" he asked the sky. "Why am I like this? What's it all for?" No answer came in words, but as he sat there, watching the light fade and the darkness gather, he felt something. A presence, a peace, a sense that he was not alone in his questions, that someone, something, was with him in the wondering. He thought about his mother's stories, how the angel had appeared before he was born, how he'd been chosen for a purpose, how his life was meant to mean something. But what? What was the purpose? When would it become clear? For now, all he had were these moments, these quiet evenings on the hillside, these questions hanging in the air, this trust that someday, somehow, it would all make sense. The stars grew brighter. The world settled into night. And Samson sat there a while longer, breathing deeply, feeling the solid earth beneath him, knowing he was part of something much larger than himself. Eventually, he stood and made his way down the hill in the darkness. His eyes had adjusted. He knew the path by heart. and he moved through the night with confidence, not afraid, trusting his feet to find the way. When he reached home, his mother was waiting at the door with a warm meal and a soft smile. She didn't ask where he'd been. She understood her son needed these times of solitude, these conversations with the divine. She handed him a bowl of lentil stew and sat beside him while he ate. The lamp flickered between them. The night was quiet except for the occasional bark of a distant dog or the chirp of crickets. "You're growing into a good man," she said softly. "Whatever the future holds, remember that. Your strength is impressive, yes, but your heart, your kindness, your desire to do right, those are the things that matter most." Samson looked at her and felt a surge of love. This woman who had carried him, birthed him, raised him with such care, who had guarded the secret of his calling while still allowing him to be a child, who loved him for who he was, not just for what he could do. "Thank you," he said simply. And that was enough. Sometimes the deepest things don't need many words. That night, lying on his sleeping mat, listening to the sound of his parents breathing in the next room, Samson felt a sense of peace settling over him. He didn't have all the answers. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, or the day after, or the years ahead, but he knew he was loved. He knew he was held. And for tonight, that was enough. His eyes grew heavy, his breathing slowed, and he drifted into sleep, into dreams of hills and sky and a path unfolding before him, leading somewhere he couldn't yet see but somehow trusted. Sleep came easy when you were young, when you still believed in good things, when you still felt held by something greater than yourself. And Samson slept deeply, peacefully, while the stars wheeled overhead and the night kept watch. The transition from youth to manhood is never simple. It's a time of questions and changes, of testing and learning, of mistakes and growth. For Samson, this time was particularly complex. He carried not just the normal challenges of growing up, but also this extraordinary gift, this remarkable strength, and the weight of knowing he was meant for something, even if he didn't know exactly what. As he moved into his 20s, he became well known throughout the region. Stories traveled from village to village about the young man with the long hair who could perform feats of strength that seemed impossible. Some people were awed, others were suspicious, some wanted to befriend him, others kept their distance. Samson tried to live simply, helping his family, working the land, participating in the life of his community. But increasingly, he felt restless, confined, as if the small boundaries of village life couldn't contain whatever was stirring inside him. He began to wander more, taking long walks that stretched into days, traveling to other towns and regions, meeting new people, seeing new places, trying to understand himself and his place in the world. It was during one of these journeys that he first fell in love. Her name has been softened by time, but the feeling remains clear. She was beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. She was intelligent, quick-witted, confident in a way that both intimidated and intrigued him. When she smiled at him, he felt his heart expand in ways he'd never experienced. They would meet in the evenings, walking together along the dusty roads, talking about everything and nothing. She asked him questions about his life, his thoughts, his dreams, and he found himself opening up in ways he never had before. She didn't seem frightened by his strength. She seemed curious about it, but not defined by it. She saw him as a person, not just as a phenomenon. For a while, Samson thought this might be his path. Perhaps his purpose was simply to be a good husband, a good father, to build a family and a life like anyone else. His parents had concerns. The woman was from a different region, a different background. There were cultural complications, political tensions between their peoples. But Samson was adamant. "I feel something for her that I've never felt before," he told his mother one evening. "Isn't that enough? Isn't love enough?" His mother looked at him with such tenderness. She wanted him to be happy, but she also sensed complications ahead. "Love is important," she said carefully, "but it's not always enough on its own. There need to be shared values, shared understanding, shared commitment to walk the same path. But Samson was young and in love, and certain. The wedding was planned, preparations were made, and for a time, everything seemed bright with possibility. But the actual marriage was difficult from the start. Cultural differences that had seemed minor suddenly felt insurmountable. Misunderstandings multiplied. What started with love and hope gradually eroded into frustration and disappointment. There was a particular incident involving a riddle and a bet. Samson, trying to be playful and clever, posed a puzzle to the wedding guests. But his new wife, pressured by her own people and feeling caught between two worlds, revealed the answer that Samson had told her in confidence. He felt betrayed, wounded, foolish for having trusted so openly. The marriage, already strained, couldn't survive this breach. The separation was painful for everyone involved. Samson withdrew, feeling angry and confused. His parents were heartbroken, not just for the failed relationship, but for their son's pain. Samson spent weeks alone in the wilderness after that, walking through wild places, sleeping under the stars, wrestling with feelings he didn't know how to name or process. He was angry, yes, but he was also sad, and underneath it all, there was shame. Had he failed? Had he made the wrong choice? How could he have been so blind? He would sit on hilltops at dawn, watching the sun rise, feeling the warmth gradually spread across the landscape. And slowly, very slowly, the sharp edges of his pain began to soften. He began to pray again, really pray. Not asking for things, not bargaining or demanding, just talking. Opening his heart, expressing his confusion and hurt. "I thought I was following my heart," he would say. "I thought I was doing the right thing, but it all fell apart. Why? What did I miss?" The answer didn't come in a voice or a vision. It came in small moments of clarity, in the way the wind moved through the grass, in the patience of a spider spinning its web, in the slow, reliable rising and setting of the sun. He began to understand that love, real love, required more than just feeling. It required wisdom, discernment, compatibility, shared values, and vision, and perhaps most importantly, it required right timing. He'd rushed into something beautiful but fragile, without the foundation to support it. And while that was painful to acknowledge, it was also a powerful lesson. As the weeks turned into months, Samson's heart healed. Not completely. Some wounds leave scars, but enough that he could move forward without bitterness. He returned to his village different than when he'd left. Quieter, more thoughtful, less certain of his own understanding, but perhaps wiser because of it. His mother welcomed him home without questions or judgment. She simply held him, this grown son of hers, and he let himself be held, feeling like a child again, needing that unconditional acceptance. The years that followed were a mixed tapestry of experiences. Samson used his strength to help his people when they faced threats from neighboring groups, but he never enjoyed the conflict. He didn't seek out confrontation. He responded when it came to him, but always with a sense of heaviness afterward. There were nights when he couldn't sleep, when the weight of what he'd done, even in defense, even in protection, sat heavy on his chest. He would wonder if this was really what his strength was for, if this was the purpose the angel had spoken of. He began spending more time in contemplation, in solitude, not running away from life, but intentionally creating space to listen, to reflect, to try to hear that still, small voice that he believed was always there, always guiding, if only he could quiet himself enough to hear it. He developed routines of prayer and meditation, rising before dawn to sit in the cool darkness, watching the stars fade as the sky gradually lightened, listening to the birds begin their morning songs, feeling himself as part of the larger rhythm of creation. These practices gave him a centeredness he had never had before, a groundedness, an ability to meet whatever came with more equanimity. He also developed deeper friendships during this time, real friendships based on mutual respect and shared values, men who saw past his strength to his humanity, who could joke with him and challenge him and sit in companionable silence with him. These friendships sustained him, reminded him he wasn't alone, gave him context and community and connection. But there remained a loneliness too, a sense of being set apart, of carrying something that others couldn't fully understand or share. And then he met Delilah. She appeared in his life like a sudden storm, unexpected, powerful, all-consuming. She was unlike anyone he'd known, beautiful certainly, but also mysterious, complex, with layers and depths he couldn't quite read. He was drawn to her immediately and intensely, but this time he was also wary. He'd been hurt before. He'd learned caution. So he moved more slowly, more carefully, trying to understand who she really was before giving his whole heart. They would meet in the evenings, sitting together in her courtyard as the sun set and the stars emerged. She would ask him questions about his life, his past, his thoughts, and he would answer, but carefully, holding back certain things, protecting the most vulnerable parts of himself. She was patient, gentle, understanding. She never pushed. She simply waited. And gradually, over time, his defenses softened. "Tell me about your strength," she would say, her fingers tracing patterns on his arm. "Where does it come from? What's the secret?" He would laugh and deflect. "It's a mystery," he'd say. "Even I don't fully understand it." But she kept asking. In different ways, at different times, always gentle, always seemingly innocent, but persistent. There was a part of Samson that wanted to tell her everything, to be fully known, to share even the deepest secrets. That's what intimacy is, isn't it? Complete openness, total vulnerability. But there was another part, a small voice inside that urged caution, that reminded him some things are sacred, that boundaries are important, that not everything needs to be spoken aloud, even to those we love. He struggled with this tension for months, the desire for intimacy versus the wisdom of discretion, the longing to trust versus the knowledge that trust must be earned over time. Delilah was patient. She never seemed frustrated by his reluctance. She simply continued to be present, attentive, affectionate. And slowly, his resistance wore down. One warm evening, under a sky full of stars, with her head resting on his shoulder, he finally told her. "My hair," he said quietly. "I've never cut it, not once in my life. It's a sign of my dedication to God, a covenant. If it were cut, the strength would leave me. I would become ordinary, just another man." She was silent for a long moment. Then she kissed his cheek softly. "Thank you for trusting me," she whispered. And in that moment, he felt both relief and unease. He'd crossed a threshold, shared something he'd never shared before, and he couldn't take it back. That night, he fell into a deep sleep beside her, the kind of sleep that comes from emotional exhaustion and vulnerability, a sleep so deep it was almost like unconsciousness. And while he slept, everything changed. When he woke, the first thing he felt was the lightness. His head felt strange, too light, too exposed. He reached up and felt short stubble where his long hair had been. The realization hit him like cold water. What had he done? What had been done to him? He tried to stand, to move, to do something, but his strength was gone. Just gone. Like a candle blown out, like water poured from a cup. Before he could fully process what was happening, hands grabbed him. Rough voices shouted. He tried to resist, to fight back, but there was nothing. No power, no advantage. He was just a man. Weak, vulnerable, betrayed. They took him captive, bound his hands. And in the days that followed, they took his sight as well. Blinded him, robbed him of light and horizon and hope. The world contracted to darkness and pain and labor. They put him to work grinding grain, walking in endless circles, pushing the heavy millstone round and round and round like an animal. This could have been the end. The tragic conclusion to a life of wasted potential and poor choices. But sometimes, the darkest moments are also the moments of greatest transformation. At first, there was only darkness, not just the physical darkness of his blindness, but a darkness of the soul. Samson felt anger, at Delilah, at himself, at God. How could this have happened? How could he have been so foolish? How could the strength he'd been given since birth be taken away so easily? He replayed the events over and over in his mind, the warning signs he'd ignored, the caution he'd set aside, the sacred trust he'd violated by revealing the secret of his strength. The work was monotonous and humiliating. Walking in circles, pushing the stone, round and round and round, hour after hour, day after day. His body ached, his hands became calloused, his feet hurt, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the inner anguish. He had been chosen, special, set apart since before birth, and he had squandered it all. For what? For love? For the illusion of intimacy? For the desperate need to be fully known by another person? But slowly, very slowly, something began to shift. It started with exhaustion. He was so tired of being angry, so weary of replaying the past, so spent from fighting against what was. One day, walking his circles, he simply stopped fighting, stopped resisting, stopped trying to change or fix or understand. He just surrendered. And in that surrender, something opened up. The work, which had felt like punishment, began to feel like prayer. The repetitive motion became a kind of meditation, one foot in front of the other, round and round, a rhythm, a dance, a letting go. He started to pray again, not the angry prayers of the early days, not the desperate bargaining, but a simpler kind of prayer, quieter, more honest. "I'm here," he would say. "This is where I am. This is what I've become. I don't know what comes next, but I'm here, and I'm listening." In the darkness, he began to see differently. He realized that he'd spent his whole life defined by his strength. It was what made him special, what set him apart, what gave him value, or so he'd thought. But now without it, he was discovering something else. Underneath the strength, underneath the gift, underneath the calling, there was just him, just Samson, a man, flawed, broken, human, and somehow that was okay. He began to understand humility in a way he never had before. Not humility as self-deprecation, but humility as truth, as seeing yourself clearly, as accepting your limitations and your humanity without shame. He thought about his life, all the choices he'd made, the relationships, the conflicts, the moments of glory and the moments of failure. He could see the pattern now, the way he'd relied too much on his physical strength and not enough on wisdom, the way he'd sought validation from others instead of finding it within himself, the way he'd confused intensity for intimacy. These insights came slowly, carved into his soul through the daily practice of the millstone, through the endless circles, through the darkness that paradoxically brought clarity. He forgave Delilah. That was one of the first changes. He realized she'd been caught in a web not entirely of her own making, used, pressured, perhaps even frightened, and he released his anger toward her, sending it out into the darkness like a bird freed from a cage. He forgave himself. That was harder. The shame of his foolishness, the regret of his choices, the pain of his failures. But gradually, he let that go too. Accepted that he'd done the best he could with what he knew at the time, that he was learning, growing, becoming, and in a way, he even forgave God. Not that God needed forgiveness, but Samson had been carrying resentment, a feeling that he'd been set up for failure, given a gift too big to carry, chosen for a purpose he never fully understood. But now, in the darkness, he could see the gift differently. The strength had never been the point. It had been a tool, a means. But the real journey was about something deeper, about learning who he was, about discovering authentic humility, about finding God not in power and glory, but in weakness and surrender. His hair began to grow back, slowly, imperceptibly at first, but he could feel it, the way it brushed against his neck, the way it grew heavier week by week. And with its return, something else stirred. Not just physical strength, but a different kind of power, a clarity, a peace, a sense of rightness that he'd never felt before. He was ready now. For what, he wasn't entirely sure. But he was ready. The months in captivity had transformed him. The darkness had become his teacher. The humiliation had become his purification. The loss had become his gain. He understood now what his mother had tried to teach him as a child. That strength without wisdom is dangerous. That power without purpose is meaningless. That gifts are responsibilities, not entitlements. He understood that his life had always been in hands greater than his own. That every success and every failure had been part of a larger pattern. That even his mistakes could be woven into something meaningful. One day, as he walked his circles, pushing the millstone, he smiled. A genuine smile. Not of happiness exactly, but of acceptance, of peace, of having come home to himself at last. "Thank you," he whispered, "for all of it. The strength and the loss, the glory and the shame, the seeing and the blindness. Thank you." And in that moment of gratitude, he felt completely free. Chained, yes. Imprisoned, yes. Blind, yes. But free in a way he'd never been when he had all his strength and all his sight. He was just a man now, no longer special in the eyes of the world, no longer extraordinary, just human, just here, just now. And it was enough, more than enough. It was everything. The time in darkness had taught him to see what really mattered, not external power, but internal peace. Not the approval of others, but alignment with his deepest truth. Not success in worldly terms, but faithfulness to the path, however winding it might be. He began to feel something he'd never felt before, a sense of completion. Not that his life was over, but that he'd learned what he needed to learn, that he'd been shaped and refined and made ready for whatever came next. And whatever came next, he would meet it not with pride or anger or fear, but with surrender, with trust, with the quiet confidence that comes from having been broken and remade. His prayers became simpler, just breathing, just being, just resting in the presence that surrounded him always, even in the darkness. "I'm ready," he would whisper sometimes, "for whatever you have for me. I'm ready." And he was. The day came eventually, as all days do. The rulers of the land decided to celebrate. They had defeated the mighty Samson. They had tamed the wild strength. They had humbled the proud warrior. They gathered in a great hall, thousands of people, feasting, drinking, laughing, celebrating their victory. "Bring out Samson," they said. "Let us see him now. Let us laugh at how the mighty have fallen." And so the guards came to the mill and took Samson by the hand, led him out of the darkness he'd grown accustomed to, into the noise and chaos of the celebration. They positioned him between two great pillars that held up the structure. The pillars were massive, carved from stone, supporting the weight of the roof and all the people gathered above on the balconies. The crowd roared with laughter and mockery. They shouted insults. They threw things. They reveled in their triumph over the man who had once been so powerful. But Samson stood quietly, his hands resting on the pillars, feeling the cool stone beneath his palms, listening to the noise but not really hearing it. He was calm, completely calm, at peace in a way that transcended his circumstances. He closed his sightless eyes and prayed one final prayer. Simple, honest, clear. "Let me finish well," he whispered. "Let this last act be meaningful, not for revenge, not for pride, but for purpose, for completion, for bringing something full circle." He could feel the strength returning fully now. His hair had grown long again. The covenant, though broken, had been restored through his genuine transformation, through his surrender, through his return to faithfulness. He took a breath, deep and slow, feeling the air fill his lungs, feeling his heart beat steady and strong. And then he pushed, not with anger, not with hatred, but with a quiet, determined strength that came from somewhere deeper than muscle, deeper than bone, from the very core of who he had become. The pillars shifted, slowly at first, then more. The structure groaned, stone grinding against stone. In that moment, Samson felt no fear, no regret, only a sense of completion, of having finally understood, of having finally arrived at the place he was always meant to be. His last thought was not of destruction or death. It was of gratitude for the journey, for the lessons, for the transformation, for the grace that had held him even when he couldn't see it. The building came down. The story reached its earthly conclusion. But Samson's legacy continued, not as a story of mere physical strength, but as a testament to transformation, to the power of surrender, to the possibility of redemption even in our darkest moments. People would tell his story for generations. Some would focus on his strength, others on his failures. But the deepest truth was this: he was a man who learned that real power comes not from what we can do, but from who we can become when we finally stop fighting and surrender to something greater than ourselves. His life, with all its complexity and contradiction, became a mirror, a reflection of the human journey, the way we're all given gifts, the way we all make mistakes, the way we all have the opportunity, even in our darkest moments, to learn, to grow, to transform. And in the end, that transformation is the greatest strength of all. And so, dear friend, we come to the end of Samson's story. But perhaps it's not really an ending at all. Perhaps it's an invitation, a gentle reminder, a whisper in the darkness that you too are held, you too are loved, you too are on a journey of transformation. Let yourself sink deeper now into your bed. Feel how the mattress supports you. Feel how the blanket covers you. Feel how safe and warm and held you are in this moment. There's nothing you need to figure out tonight, nothing you need to fix or solve or understand. Just rest. Just be. Just breathe. Like Samson walking his circles in the darkness, you too are learning, growing, becoming. And even when the path isn't clear, even when you can't see where you're going, you're not lost. You're exactly where you need to be. Breathe slowly now. In through your nose, feeling the cool air enter. Out through your mouth, feeling the warm air leave. Again, in and out, in and out. Let each breath carry away a little more tension, a little more worry, a little more of whatever you've been carrying today. You are stronger than you know. Not because of what you can achieve or accomplish or prove, but because of who you are at your very core, because of the light that lives in you, because of your capacity to love, to grow, to begin again. Let that truth settle over you like a gentle blanket. You are held, always held, even when you can't feel it, even when you doubt it, even in your darkest moments. You are held in love that is greater than you can imagine. Close your eyes fully now if they're not already closed. Let them rest. Let them be heavy. There's nothing to see now except the soft darkness behind your eyelids. And that darkness is not empty. It's full of peace, full of possibility, full of rest. Think of Samson's mother holding her newborn son, humming that ancient lullaby. That same love surrounds you now. That same tenderness holds you. That same gentle care watches over you. You are worthy of rest, worthy of peace, worthy of letting go. Tomorrow will come with its own gifts and challenges, but tomorrow is not here yet. Right now, there is only this moment, this breath, this rest. Your body is growing heavier. Your breathing is slowing. Each exhale releases a little more. Each inhale draws in a little more peace. The world outside continues its turning. The stars wheel slowly across the night sky. The earth spins on its axis. The seasons change. Life flows on like a river. And you are part of this beautiful rhythm, this cosmic dance, this mysterious unfolding. You don't have to understand it all. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be here. Just breathe. Just rest. If thoughts arise, Let them drift past like clouds across a summer sky. You don't need to grab onto them. You don't need to follow them. They'll move on in their own time. And you can simply return to your breath, to the feeling of your body resting, to the peace that surrounds you. You are sinking deeper now, deeper into the mattress, deeper into rest, deeper into the arms of grace that have always held you and will never let you go. Like Samson in his moment of surrender, you too can let go. Release what needs releasing. Trust what needs trusting. Surrender into something larger than yourself, something that holds you with perfect love. And in that surrender, find perfect peace. Your breathing is so soft now, so gentle, like a whisper, like wind through grass, like water flowing over smooth stones. Sleep is coming. You can feel it approaching like a warm tide, rising slowly around you, covering you, bringing you home to rest. Let it come. Welcome it. Receive it as the gift it is. You've done enough for today. You've been enough. You are enough. Now, just rest. Just let go. Just sleep. The story is complete. The journey is done for tonight. And you are safe, so loved, so perfectly held, like a child in loving arms, like a bird in its nest, like a seed resting in the earth. You are exactly where you belong. Sleep now, dear friend. Deep, restorative, peaceful sleep. Let your whole body relax completely. From the crown of your head to your forehead, your eyes, your jaw, your neck and shoulders, all the way down through your chest, your arms, your hands, your belly, your legs, your feet. Everything soft, everything heavy, everything at rest. You are floating now on an ocean of peace, gentle waves rocking you, carrying you deeper into rest, deeper into sleep, deeper into the quiet place where healing happens and dreams are born. The night is holding you. The darkness is not empty or frightening. It's full of presence, full of love, full of peace, and you can rest here, completely, totally, without worry or fear. You are so tired, so ready for sleep, and sleep is ready for you. Just let go. Let everything fall away, all the doing, all the thinking, all the trying. Just be, just breathe, just rest. Samson found peace in the darkness, and you can too. Peace is here, now, available to you, surrounding you, holding you. Sleep deeply, dear one. Sleep peacefully, sleep safely. Let the dreams be gentle as starlight, as gentle as a mother's touch, as gentle as grace itself. You are loved, so deeply loved, more than you could ever know. And now, sleep. Just sleep. Soft and slow and deep, like the earth resting through winter, like the sky holding the stars, like love itself. Just sleep. Rest now. Rest. Sleep. Peace. Gentle peace. Soft peace. Deep. Deep peace. Sleep.